bring in Christophe Muller, who heads partnerships for YouTube, and perhaps one of the people who's responsible for the success of bands like Black Eyed Peas, etc. Welcome, Christophe.
Hi.
Christophe, lovely to see you.
Nice meeting you too.
Yeah. So having a good time. I believe it's your first Music Matters.
Very good time,
yeah?
very good time. It's indeed my first Music Matters, and it's good to be here. It's been very, very interesting.
Yeah, well, Music Matters and YouTube to Music Matters is there's been a strong partnership. So tell us, I know over the last couple of years, YouTube's become pretty integral, to the broader music ecosystem, whether it's the artists, whether it's music companies, both in terms of community, etc. Share with the audience, some of the statistics in terms of where you are today and how this entire transition towards the fan is really what you're now highlighting.
Exactly, exactly. So YouTube is fundamentally about connecting fans with the content, the artist, the musician, the creators they love, right? It's a two-way relationship. Today, we really are in a unique position to enable that dialogue. And that dialogue is not just happening locally, it's happening globally, right? So, when you look at examples, of course, like Psy, coming from Korea, I believe 97% plus of their views were coming outside. 2 billion views were coming outside of the country. So that's one unique, position. We're in a unique position to bring that global stage to the local artist, to the local label, to the local partner. We also, in this position today because we have over 1 million partners on the platform.
How many?
1 million.
Over 1 million.
Yeah. So working very closely
and
with.
How do you describe a partner? Is an artist a partner? Or?
An artist could be a partner. It could be a small, medium, big company. It's anybody that's engaging with the platform by uploading content.
So these are the channels that you have.
Exactly, creating channels, but not just uploading and staying static. It's about engaging, and engaging can happen in many ways, but it's really creating the dialogue with the user, and the user can comment, can like, can share, right? So today you were talking about numbers, and again, this plays to the third point I wanted to make about expression and creativity. But today, YouTube, brings the global stage of 1 billion unique users per month to the partners, to the fans, and to the artists and musicians. So it's really a unique reach that you can get on the platform. More than 100 hours of content.
Yes, I know. I mean,
That's
infographics all over are,
exactly.
They keep changing every month, as it were. But hold that thought. So I was reading the IFPI report, and it said that there's something like $5.9 billion that the music industry made out of digital, and of which there's about 67% was coming out of the downloads business, and now increasingly out of the streaming ecosystem. How much of this is being enabled now by YouTube?
Look, it's hard to pin it down to a number, but what I can say is that depending on the on the partner we work with, we can be between the second or third or fourth source of digital revenue to them. So it really depends on the situation, right? But this is something that we continue to focus on. I talked about reach. I talked about fans. I talked about this engagement that's really unique to us. One thing that we're also focusing on is to continue to improve the monetization. As a matter of fact, I came back from Bangkok on Monday, where I was for the launch of YouTube in the country there. It's been a phenomenal event. It was incredible.
How many countries is YouTube now?
62 now, 61, 62. So in 62 countries in the world, and we're very happy to be in Thailand. Thailand has been proven incredible so far. Like there's so much interest and engagement from the fan in this. And what does it mean that we launch in the country? It means that we surface local content to the local people and opening up that stage to the world, but also enable monetization. And we see more and more of the brands being interested in this. And as a matter of fact, I've done many events like this when YouTube was going into new countries, and it was the first event where we actually had already signed partnership with brands that were, engaging with the platform, with YouTube, and spending money and bringing ads dollars to the business. So as we grow the business, you will see more and more of these brands and advertisers coming to the platform, and also, as we bring more countries, the pie will grow.
I'm aware, for example, you have partnerships with companies like Maker Studios and their artists, etc.
They're one of the million, yeah.
You do these fan fests, etc. I think one of the concerns, perhaps, this audience is largely some of the most influential people from the business and the industry of music from across the world, has been, this entire aspect of the fact that more and more consumption is now coming out of mobile phones because, smartphones are getting better,
As a matter of fact, 40% of our consumption in the recent years is on mobile.
And the yields on mobility are roughly about a fifth of that was perhaps an online. How is YouTube reimagining to ensure that, the kind of yields which flow back, whether to the record labels or the artists, etc., are still, in a sense, sustained?
So I'm not sure we're necessarily seeing the same ratio between, what you call desktop and mobile. It's actually much higher than that, and it's improving. We're a technology company. We try to bring new technologies and innovation to this space. So let me point out to you an example that I thought was really interesting and made a big change, which was this sort of new ad format called TrueView, which is basically an ad format that, as a user, you can skip, and the advertisers only get charged when the user actually watched the entire thing, or is a minimum 30 seconds, right? And it's been proven to be really successful. As a matter of fact, now more than 70% of our in-stream, what I call in-stream, is the advertising that appears in the player is TrueView based. So it's on auction. It's been really innovative. This is a format that typically you could see working better on mobile. Like you're on the go, you don't necessarily have the time, you're not interested, you can skip. But if the ad is good, if the first 5 seconds that you have to watch is really engaging, you might watch it. And maybe this ad, and this ad will one day be more relevant to, of course, where you are,
sure. So
location.
you're obviously putting more and more pressure onto creative agencies. But whilst on that, I happen to be a part of forum with one of the largest advertisers in this part of the world, Unilever. And there was an interesting conversation that was happening with them, where they said they are now looking at, no longer looking at buying into print or television or internet. They have converted advertising into 3 different formats, text, audio, and video as a form factor. So whether the video view is coming out of a television screen or in a cinema hall or on a YouTube channel, how do you see, more and more of these companies becoming receptive, as it were? Because they're understanding, brands themselves are becoming media. The communities that they are sustaining, or rather sort of co-opting with, it's giving them that edge, as it were.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because we've been working on a program that we just we announced last year, where we help brands become creators, sharing with them the best practices of what is it that it takes to be successful at, on YouTube, and managing your channel, at creating this dialogue, and we're just really expanding this. So this is going back to your point where, these advertisers, they also have a lot of content, and by getting them more involved with the community on YouTube, we also hope to see them, invest more in this community. So it's clearly a focus of ours at this stage.
And clearly you see within that music as being this big catalyst, as it were, because eventually, these brands can make, thousands of videos, but consumers are really not, I'm aware of, for example, what brands like Old Spice are doing with the Old Spice Man, as it were. Certain brands like, Red Bull have gone into themselves becoming media in terms of creators of content. But how are you seeing the creation of almost like sponsored programming of what perhaps it was there in television, as opposed to just buying into CPMs, as it were?
We see more and more interest coming from not only the brands, but the partner that want to engage in this branded entertainment sort of content, right? So the challenge we have, in all honesty, is that we operate at scale, we operate at a global level, we're in over 60 countries, as I said before, and the idea is how do we make this happen, and make sure that it's relevant in each and every single country, right? So it's very high touch. And it's definitely something we need to look into, but it can only happen in partnership. So it goes back to my point where, we're really about partnering with not just the label.
So you did something with HP, I believe, as part of...
we did something with American Express, with, in Vivo, where we brought, some live concert series. There's tons of initiatives like this on the way, but the idea is really to see how we can actually make this, scalable and not just a one-off event.
And tell us, what are perhaps newer features beyond the video? There's a huge separate discussion that's happening globally that the current form of video players is ripe for the next phase of disruption in terms of interactivity. Whether that will lead to sort of transaction and commerce, right. Whether it will guide to the other ecosystem of merchandising, etc. And how is YouTube kind of, continuing to be at the forefront of that?
So, as I said to you before, innovation is very important to us. It's at the core of everything we do. And we're always looking at ways to maximize these sort of opportunities. So one thing that we're looking at is integrating more in the player information about when you listen or watch a specific, music video, more information about that artist. Is that artist playing soon? Is it playing soon next to where I am? Can I buy tickets? Can I buy a song? So just make it easier and a more, inclusive experience, as opposed to just like, I'm watching this here, and okay, I'm going here to buy the song,
and has that led to people spending more time?
We haven't, it's not something we've launched yet. You've asked me about, what's the future. So this is something we're working on, and I see as critical for our partners and, and for the artists.
So Christophe, in the interest of time, some thoughts on the broader perspective of streaming, because, there are concerns at one level. At one level, I read that, for instance, a couple of airlines in the US are actually contemplating sort of disengaging actual entertainment systems because everyone's going around with their own personal device and will now offer, $1 an hour as access fee, and you are free to consume what you want, as it were. So, at one stretch, you're looking at streaming going into that zone, as it were. And I'm reminded here of an artist who a couple of months back said, talked of a particular service and said, it's like, or streaming is like, a desperate fart of a dying corpse. How do you respond to something of this nature, particularly from an industry wherein the future for them is really digital?
I think there's no question that, we need to be better at monetization. As I said, opening up new countries will help with that, and that's really critical. But it's really important that we continue to focus on this. That also means that I think we need to be open at different sort of models. You talked about transaction as well, and this is something that as we evolve, we need to keep an eye on. As a matter of fact, we already launched on YouTube some transactional TVOD or EST on the platform as a test, and we need to continue to experiment with this. But of course, we want to do more. This is in the interest. Our goal is to have a thriving ecosystem, and it is doing well. You see the interest from big media companies now in I would say not necessarily music vertical, but like in the traditional entertainment sector with all the multi-channel networks and the investment that's happening there. And the ecosystem is thriving already, but we need to do better. We will do better, and we'll continue to focus on that.
No, I think Christophe, if we were to actually be able to see the audience here, there is no doubt that today, YouTube's become an integral part of the music industry. And there is more and more contribution that's happening towards the success of bands and artists, etc., in leading up to that. So, in fact, is there, in the old days, the music industry would look at, platinum record, disc. How do you, is no longer 1 million, 10 million, 100 million, is billion the new million in your business now?
Interesting. I mean, it's true that by bringing the global stage, the global word, you know, to the artist, that, you know, it's about scale. So that's true. But it's not just about views. To be honest with you, it's all about engagement. You know, as I said before. So what we actually have is a way to reward channels that with what we call the golden button that recognize the 1 million subscriber. Because as a user and a fan, if I like the content, I want to subscribe to that channel because I want to know what's happening and I want to get an update when there's a new video being posted and so forth. So we have that. We're also looking at ways to integrate with more charts. So we've done a partnership with billboards in the US. And, you know, again, you know, I talked about expression before. The Harlem Shake is a good example.
Absolutely,
I mean,
yes.
Bauer went, you know, from nowhere to #1 on the Billboard chart because they're looking at and taking into account our streams. You know, Happy. You know, from Pharrell is another good story.
And
from
Disney has,
right?
even for the first times, actually permitted to do mashups with their content.
Correct.
Because they realized that the quantum of effect of virals that consumers were doing with that song, I think it was a very, very significant moment, particularly for a company like Disney to contemplate that.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, wonderful, Christophe. It's
Neeraj.
been wonderful talking to you, and we wish you all the very best. And you know, from Jasper and the wonderful team of Branded, we wish you and YouTube all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you very
gentlemen.
much. Thank you.